Before we begin today's video, I'd like to give a shout out to one of our newest subscribers, Educated. Zicano? I think that's Zicano. Educated Zicano. Thank you for subscribing, and I do apologize if I butchered the last part of your name. But in either case, thank you for subscribing, and welcome to the family. And now on with today's video. Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drayon, back once again with another Dungeons & Dragons character conversion, part of Valor's Call. We're trying to wrap up a bunch of these little mini-series that I've put together for my different Dungeons & Dragons character creation playlists, and this time we are going after the Valor's Call. Both Valor's Call and League of Malevolence both started as stat blocks from the Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and now we are here trying to complete the collection from the toy line. Well, most of these guys have toys. Others, like today's character, only appear in the pages of coloring books. And who is today's character? Today's character is Garn Graygaze, a gnome illusionist thief. Our only piece of information about him other than that is that he is the apprentice of the wizard Ringlerun. Yeah, that's all the info we have. So, what we could do is simply take the stats from the Illusionist Wizard stat block from Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse and build off from there. But because Graygaze has two parts to his class description, Illusionist Thief, there are a couple of changes that I am going to be making as far as creative liberties go. So while some of these stats are similar enough to the illusionist stat block that can be found within those pages, there are going to be some differences. Speaking of our stats, let's go ahead and use the point buy system. Strength, wisdom, and charisma are going to be our lowest stats at 10. With dexterity being a 15, constitution at a 13, and intelligence at a 14. Like I said, Garn Graygaze is a gnome, but what type of gnome? We have 3 different gnomes after all. Well, I didn't like the forest gnome. Rock gnome didn't make sense. Well, technically we have 4 if we count the deep gnome, but his skin's way too light for him to be a deep gnome. So I decided that we're going with Eberron's gnome, the Mark of Scribing. Why the Mark of Scribing? Well, other than our normal +1 increase to our constitution and 2 to our charisma, we get some delightful abilities that I thought worked perfectly for Garn Graygaze. First, our normal stuff. We are a small creature. We have a speed of 25 feet. We have dark vision of 60 feet, gnome cunning, and of course, languages of common and gnomish. But the Mark of Scribing gnome has 3 abilities that work rather well. Well, at least 2 of them make sense. As the gnome Mark of Scribing has the gifted scribe, letting us add a D4 to any intelligence, history, or an ability check involving calligrapher's supplies. Which is great, as very much useful. We also get some free spells, the message cantrip, as well as being able to cast comprehend languages, and at 3rd level we can use magic mouth. And then we also get some spells added to our class's spell list. But since we're going to be a wizard, it's not going to really matter, is it? All of those spells are a part of the wizard spell list. That's more for, like, if you decided to go for a druid or maybe a cleric. It would make sense to go with that. But I just like these two abilities from the Mark of Scribing Gnome. It just works well with Garn's whole aesthetic of being the apprentice of Ringlerun. Now, we need to go for our background. And while like I said, Garn is a thief, he is the apprentice of a wizard already, Ringlerun. So it made perfect sense to make Garn a Strixhaven student. More specifically, the Silver Quill student. This will give us proficiency in Intimidation and Persuasion, as well as the languages of Elven and Dwarvish. We also get the feat of Strixhaven Initiate, going with the Silver Quill School. This will give us access to 2 cantrips, Thaumaturgy and Vicious Mockery, as well as the first level spell of Cure Wounds. I thought it was pretty useful, and it's the only spell that wizards don't get access to, is healing magic. So I thought it would be somewhat useful for them. Next is our class. I'm going to actually start off with Rogue to get access to that D8 hit die. We also get starting hit points of 8 plus our Constitution modifier, additional hit points equal to 1d8 plus our Constitution modifier per rogue level after the first. With proficiencies in light armor, simple weapons, hand crossbows, longsword, short sword, and rapier. We also get to access the Thieves' Tools, as well as saving throws in dexterity and intelligence. For our skills, I'm just going to do the same thing we did with Fox Fingers: acrobatics, athletics, deception, and perception. We also get expertise. We're going to be going with deception and persuasion for our 2 expertise. Instead, just to switch things up a little bit, don't have too many duplicates. We also get access to that sneak attack feature on Thieves' Cant. At level 2 Rogue, we get access to Cutting Action, and level 3 Rogue, we get access to Steady Aim and our roguish archetype of the Thief, giving us access to Fast Hands and Second Story Work. Now for our multi-class into Wizard, finally taking up our apprenticeship with Ringlerun. We get a d6 hit die and additional hit points equal to 1d6 plus our Constitution modifier per wizard level. Our spellcasting uses our intelligence modifier, and we get access to arcane recovery. At level 2 wizard, of course, we're an illusionist, so our arcane tradition should be that of illusion. You get access to illusion solvent and improved minor illusion. At 4th level, we're going with the feat of Dungeon Delver. I thought this would be perfect for any thief, and it works especially well for our gnome illusionist. And it's going to work even better with something that's going to come up here in a moment. It's just hilarious. But anyway, like with the last one, you get advantage on your wisdom, perception, and intelligence investigation checks made to detect the presence of secret doors. Gotta find the good stuff. Find all those hidden spell scrolls in the evil wizard's cabinet. You get advantage on saving throws made to avoid or resist traps. You are stealing from a wizard after all, so yeah, you kinda need to be able to dodge those traps, especially those glyphs of warding. And you have resistance to the damage dealt by traps. You know, like the kobold spit trap. You gotta be able to avoid that. And then, of course, you do not have a -5 penalty to your perception score if you are moving at a fast pace. Moving on to level 6, you get Malleable Illusions. Level 8, go ahead and increase your dexterity by 2 points. Level 10, you get Illusory Self. Level 12, I decided to go with the Gnome Racial Feat of Fade Away. Increase your dexterity by 1 point. And immediately after you take damage, you can use a reaction to magically become invisible until the end of your next turn, or until you attack, deal damage, or force someone to make a saving throw. Once you use this ability, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. I think this racial ability is hilarious. I don't know why I haven't been using it sooner. It just works for our little illusionist friend here. Just imagine you are a guard going about your duties. You have been plagued by cruel tricks, illusions from a clear wizard, and all of a sudden you see the wizard right in front of you. You go to swing, you actually hit it, but the wizard disappears. You sigh. Another illusion. And then you go about your business. It is just the perfect little trick for Guard Graygaze to have. Just plague some poor sap with all these illusions, and when you two finally come face to face, you just boop right out of existence. Moving on to level 14, we get Illusory Reality. Level 16, go ahead and increase your intelligence by 2 points, making it a 16. And we get to finish off this build at level 17, Wizard, and level 3, Rogue. While that is the end of this build, it is not the end of the video, as we do have Garn Graygaze's spells to go over. Now, he is an illusionist, so you should have some illusion spells, though thanks to Illusion Solvent, it's a lot easier for you to copy illusion spells into your spellbook. So I tried not to make everything in Garn's list illusion-based. Let's go ahead and go over the spells that I recommend. I thought these were hilarious for our little trickster friend. Cantrips, we have Blade Ward, Dancing Lights, Mold Earth, Prestidigitation, and Shape Water. First level, Disguise Self, Distort Value, Featherfall, Frost Fingers, Ice Knife, Mage Armor, Shield, Silent Image, Silvery Barbs, Tensor's Floating Disc. Second level, we have Blur, Detect Thoughts, Hold Person, Mirror Image, Nathia's Mischief. Third level, Antagonize, Counterspell, Dispel Magic, Hypnotic Pattern, and Major Image. Fourth level, Arcane Eye, Greater Invisibility, Hallucinatory Terrain, and Stone Shape. At fifth level, Animate Objects. Target a bunch of gems, make them walk right into your pocket. Bigby's Hand, Hold Monster, Summon Draconic Spirit. Keep this in mind for a later spell. Mass Suggestion, Mental Prison, Programmed Illusion, and Sunbeam. Seventh level, we have Mirage Arcane and Teleport. Eighth level, Control Weather, Illusory Dragon. Picture this. You summon your draconic spirit, and then you summon an illusory dragon. Which one's real? Which one's fake? Your opponent's not gonna know. At ninth level, we have Invulnerability and Time Stop. I thought these were interesting spells to have, though I'm sure that I am missing the concentration on a couple of these spells, like with the Summon Draconic Spirit and Illusory Dragon. I'm sure both of those have the concentration feature, so keep that in mind when playing this character. You do have to worry about these spell descriptions. What do your spells do, and what are their limitations? But with that being said, that is all I have for you today. What did you think of Garn Graygaze? Let me know in the comment section down below, and until next time, this has been Drahan, and I am offline.